Je rappelle que nous avons déjà dépassé l'horaire.
Je saisis cette occasion, avant d'entrer dans le fond de ma communication, pour remercier les organisateurs de m'avoir offert l'opportunité de m'exprimer ici, de présenter une communication lors de ce symposium. Je vais bien sûr utiliser la traduction simultanée. Et par ce truchement, je remercie tous les participants au colloque de Cagliari qui ont bien voulu, à leur tour, remercier les organisateurs du colloque de 92. Les coulées du tissu de sang dans le linceul de Turin. Nous avons photocopié le texte et apparemment les traducteurs ont à leur disposition ce texte. Quant à la position de l'homme imprimée sur le linceul, les savants ont décidé que ses mains étaient liées à une colonne, alors que je pense
for they were like to a ceiling, as Claudio Bellini illustrates in a panel. In fact, some scholars cannot make it clear neither the height of the column, low, medium, or high, nor the modalities of binding directly to a column or to an iron ring in a column. Among other things, in the lifted hands position, the possibility that the body of the condemned would work in a more complete way to bear out the hypothesis of the column, of a low column. Monsignor Giulio Ricci, in the colored prints of the back imprint of bleeding as a result of a violent flogging. Since in the Holy Gospel no prophets, neither evangelists provide these details, for a scientific investigation of the phenomenon, we should base our analysis on an accurate examination of the visible imprints of the shroud, taking advantage of available techniques. Should we get a negative result, we should think that this bleeding is to be ascribed to a different cause, to a cause other than flogging. It is wise, however, to consider what evangelists report on the passion of our Lord Jesus Christ. St. Matthew said nothing on this in the first and second annunciation of passion. In the third, he reports Jesus' words, and I quote, "Now we are riding to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be given to the two priests, and he will be given to the pagan to be flogged, flagellandum masticosai, and crucified. But on the third day he will resurrect." And after a confrontation with Pilato and the crowd for the liberation of a detainee, he said, "I will release Barabbas," and after having him flogged, flagellatum, flagellosas, Jesus, he was handed over to soldiers for being crucified. St. Mark 2 doesn't mention flogging in the first and second, and with the exception of some lexical differences, he refers the same annotation. And concluding the trial before the Roman magistrate, he states that Pilate, since he wanted to satisfy, he released Barabbas, and after he had Jesus flogged, and then he was crucified. Evangelist Saint Luca said that Pilate, having summoned priests and authorities of the people, said, "You brought these men as a subservice person. Now I have examined, but I have found no blame." and so he has done nothing for which he deserves death. So after having punished emendatum paideudos, I will release him. And then said that they would cry, crucify, crucify. And for the third time he said, I have found nothing for which he deserved death. I will punish him, corripiam padeusas, and then I will set him free. St. John, after reporting the dialogue of Pilate with the Judeans on the liberation of Barabbas, he writes, then Pilate had Jesus flogged, once again flagellavit. So from what I said, it is clear that no hypothesis on the position of the condemned to flogging mare Romanorum has a reference in Gospels. Reference of Psalm 129 of the Isaiah prophet and Saint Paul, Apostle Saint Paul, should be read considering the norm of Deuteronomy. If the culprit deserves flogging, the judge will have him laid down with a number of strokes according to his blame, no more than 40 floggings, because adding more, so for the punishment not to be too severe. The reading of the Holy Shroud. Now I want to move on to an examination of the Shroud to see, and to this end, I just want to quote Luigi Gedda, which dates back to 1950. He, in an article published in the review Tabor, he was the director. The title of his article was the following: Passio Domini Nostri Jesu Christi secundum syndonem, a synthesis of examination made on the Shroud. In addition to the pages devoted to flogging, Gedda had two transparencies to meddle more of the flogging, which can be seen in the imprints of the Shroud. I have to observe that contrary to what authors usually write, who speak of 120 flogging, flagrum, without specifying whether there are 1, 2 or 3 more lore, I counted as many as 180 binary flogging places, out of which 125, 130 in the Bacchi imprint, and as many as about 50 in the whereas the examination of figure 3 and 4, according to Monsignor Ricci, would amount to 180 binary signs only in the back imprint.
Non è cosa utile. Andiamo avanti. La presenza di segni di flag.
The presence of flagrum signs, besides on arms, on the chest, the thorax, leads us to believe that flogging took place with the body bent or uplifted or tied to a column, whereas this punishment was given with the hands lifted, raised up over the head. According to Monsignor Ricci, the examination of ultraviolet photographers made by John Baptist Udica Cordiglia in 1969 would point to bleeding. He believed the results of a violent flogging. Just want to observe that both figure number 5, which reproduces the position of the man of the Shroud during the execution, where both figures show blood rivulet which can be compared to those on 4 arms on the head of the ape. Figure 9, Monsignor Ricci shows some blood clusters and bleeding, which he ascribes to blood, but they do not have the same color intensity. The types of flogging he suggests cannot justify the image. The blood clots would not have the configuration of Rosetta shaped. So we have to look for different interpretations. Cardinal Gorevod, for the first time in 1534, when the identity of the shroud was verified after the Chambéry fire of 1532, thought of ascribing the origin of the imprints to the hematidrosis suffered by Jesus in the Gethsemane. More recently, Jeddah expressed his opinion that the product of decomposition of the blood pigments scattered all over the body and mixed with the salt components of sweat might have facilitated the mechanism of formation of imprint. As it is well known, it is Saint Luca, a doctor, to tell the episode of hematidrose in these words. He went to and he said,
"Pray not to be tempted." And then he went a little farther away, knelt down, and he prayed, "Father, if you want, please put this goblet away from me, but not my will, but thy will be made." And then an angel appeared to comfort him. He was anguished, and his sweat became like clots of blood. And I intentionally used the word clots, which translate the Greek word thromboi, because the droplets of blood, when in contact with sweat, clot. The Greek language to indicate drop and drops use stagma, stagmatas, and stagon, stagones. I would like to say that the position taken by Jesus when praying is not usual for Israelites because they used to pray in the upright position. Jesus knelt down, zestagonata in Greek. Moreover, while St. Luke tells us of only one moment of prayer, St. James used an expression which indicates that it is a continuing or repeated action. St. Mark speaks about 3 moments of prayer, and as to the position, he said, "Epipten epites," yes, that is, he dropped on the earth, like he was going on all 4, and St. Matthew's also speaks of 3 moments of prayer. And as to the position, episen epi prosopon of 2, that is, he fell on his face, the face on the ground. Conclusions. I think that my reasons supplied the medical basis for a new interpretation of the imprints on the shroud. Oppressed by sadness and anguish, annihilated under the burden of human sins, Jesus in Gethsemane invokes the Father like he were a delinquent, a criminal, not the victim. But Jesus cannot but draw away the one he does not acknowledge anymore because he is covered with sin. So this is the last straw that makes the camel fall, so to speak. And this anguish causes Jesus to sweat and sweat with blood. So blood comes out of the capillary vessels. so that all his skin is covered with these clots. It's hematidrosis. And this will be imprinted on the shroud. So I think this is a flow of blood and sweat. I'm now skipping some sentences to go to my conclusions. So we should wonder why so many physical and psychical suffering. Why just Jesus wanted to be obedient up to the cross. The answer is not my own. Without Jesus' cross, we would have understood God like a good master, concerned for us, not as a lover mad for us. We would have understood God like an elderly person, not like a young person who is able to love with all his soul. We would have been convinced that true love, the fascinating love, is love between a man and a woman, and therefore human love is higher than divine love. The folly of the cross, on the contrary, lets us understand that God is young, that he is in love, and that his love goes beyond human love. He loves like no man is able to love, like no woman is able to love, and we are the beloved ones, each one of us.